All right, well, it looks like we have a good amount of people in here, and we'll have more kind of join as we get started. But I'll go ahead and I'll kick things off. So I just want to say hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. We're just really happy that you're interested in understanding a little bit more about benefits, and just can't wait to share with you what we're learning. And I'm Duncan. I'm an HCM consultant here at Thread. I'm going to go over just a couple housekeeping items before we get started with the start of the show, Zach, to just let you know exactly how this is going to work. So we have an hour. We're going to just go through this as quickly as we can. Make sure that we have a lot of times at the end for questions that you guys might have, because I know that's probably the most important part for you guys. I do ask that on questions, you send them through the chat. I will be aggregating them, and then at the end, I will ask them to Zach in a Q&A section. We ask that you guys stay on mute. Don't want people necessarily having to talk over each other and everything. So if you could just send any questions you have through chat, that'd be great. And just want to say thank you to SHRM Atlanta as well for accrediting, and HRCI for accrediting this webinar. I know it means a lot to you guys to hopefully be able to more easily keep up your continuing education credits, and hopefully in a very fun and interactive way. But without further ado, I'm headed over to the star of the show, the person who will be doing the entire presentation, a good personal friend of mine, and just generally awesome and very knowledgeable benefits broker, Zach Layman from NFP.
Awesome. I really appreciate it, Duncan. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone has had a chance to get lunch. My name is Zach Layman. I am an employee benefits broker. I've been in insurance now for 10 years, starting my career on the carrier side before joining NFP. I was actually introduced to Thread by chance and found them being one of the few payroll companies that their client list is actually very excited to work with. They had asked me to talk a little bit about the more innovative things that are coming out in the employee benefit space through the lens of total rewards. So we could certainly talk about the ins and outs of medical insurance and any other insurance related products. But today we really wanted to focus on something new, something that is probably not being talked about as these products are coming out to support your employees. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Duncan's going to be monitoring that, and then we're going to have some time for Q&A after. Other than that, we'll get it started. You can let me know that you can see my screen, Duncan.
Yep, see it perfectly.
Perfect. Get that out of the way. So this conversation today is going to be focused on different generational cohorts that I'm sure you're seeing at your companies. We're going to go over a few topics regarding the data collection for how to analyze these cohorts, what is possible out there to engage your employees, and then how to communicate that. So we're going to start off, actually, here's Duncan and I's smiling faces. If you'd like to connect with us, you can use that QR code. There's our contact information. I want to start off with just a few macro trends that we're seeing in the US economy. I'm sure everyone has heard plenty on the news stations that we are experiencing a drop in inflation compared to last year. What that does not mean is prices are dropping. It just means prices are going up at a lower rate than they previously were. So your employees are still likely facing a lot of difficult headwinds financially. We're seeing one of the largest retirement pools that we've experienced in the US economy, with about 10,000 retirees coming through, moving from their work life to their retired life per day. The competition for good employees is still very hot because the employees feel like they're in a very advantageous market for themselves. And so in summary, there are not enough people to work. Please feel free to throw in the chat if that's been your experience, if you've seen it a very tight labor market, or if you think it's cooling down from where it was last year. So those macro trends are a large kind of 3,000-foot view of what you're probably experiencing in your employee populations. The other thing you're probably experiencing is a very diverse workforce. Our workforces are looking more diverse than ever between generations, between races, between backgrounds, between political leanings. And so the question is, how do we meet all of these different generations, all these different demographics, where they are expecting their employers to be? Because unfortunately, it's not all about the money anymore. You're unlikely to compete solely on compensation. So where can that money be invested? The employees are feeling like they're going to have a true benefit. And I mean that in the lowercase b of joining a company. So as we think about different approaches of how to use this money, we're going to go through specific programs. However, keep in mind, there's hundreds of companies that are trying to offer innovative benefits to your employees. It is not HR, it is not finance's job to know about all of these companies. Your employee benefits broker, people like Thread that are working in HR consulting, should be bringing these proactively to you. And you should be leaning on them to find certain ways to creatively enhance your benefits. So I love this slide right here. It says, not all currency is equal. And I'll use a really easy example of this. If an employee were to have to go get medical insurance by him or herself on the individual market, that dollar is not going to go as far as that same dollar that's invested into an employee health plan through the company. So what this means is not all currency, not all dollars are going to be worth the same. Dollars invested by the company are usually going to go a little bit longer to meet the needs of the employees rather than the employee just taking that dollar and finding that benefit themselves. So as you're thinking about your benefit package, it's not just compensation, it's not just insurance. It could be retirement. It could be long-term incentives for non-qualified plans. It could be recognition rewards, fitness programs. There's a myriad of things that employees are looking for to match their expectations of the employer. And speaking of expectations, how do we figure out what employees want around their total rewards program? So as we're going through this presentation, take the time and think about your actual day-to-day employees, right? Where they are in their career, where they are in their personal lives, and what they're asking for when it comes to their employee benefit and total rewards package. If you're not surveying your employee population to get an understanding of what they're actually looking for, you may be investing company dollars in something that is not really valued. So we're going to talk a little bit about surveying here. This is the lens that we look through total rewards with. Those top two, comp and benefits, that's going to be traditional. You've probably seen that. It's probably top of mind. Now around this halo, there's going to be a few different things that people usually don't think about. Learning and development is some of those impactful total rewards component that you can have that really might not cost the money anything. And it could have a huge impact, not only on your new employees that might be just graduating school or leaving high school, but it can also impact those that are taking over a managerial role and having people work under them. So think of what your employees are asking for, where it might fit into this halo, and how your company is approaching this total package to communicate to its employees. We'll have three focus areas. Gathering input should not take too long. We're looking at more of survey and focus groups there. And area two, the focus on benefits customization. That's where we're going to spend most of our time. And then area three, how to communicate the investments that you've made into your employees to your current employees and prospective employees. So before I jump in, Duncan, was there anything in the chat that was asked?
No, not so far. You're good to go.
Well, Duncan will be continue monitoring that if anyone has questions as we get into some of these details. So I very rarely have a conversation with a client or prospective client of mine that has one plan offering. Unless that plan offering is 100% employer paid, 0% out of pocket, there's no really one size fits all for your employee population. So we want to get customized for someone that might be entering the workforce, might be somewhere in the middle of their career, or maybe about to leave the workforce. And with more choice, more customization, more flexibility comes on the onus of the employees to make that decision. And as more choices come to bear, and the employees don't have any support to make those decisions, they're just not going to make the choice. They're going to say, I don't understand this. No one's taking the time to explain it to me. So this is where not only your traditional broker or employee benefits advisor or claims advocate can assist your employees and their dependents when they're making these decisions. We're seeing a lot of AI innovation. I'm still not completely sold on it where it stands today, but within the next 5 years, AI is going to be a huge component to help your employees understand the options that you're offering to them and then executing on those options. So how we gather feedback is usually just by asking the employees. I know it sounds silly, but there are plenty of companies that will go ahead and assume what their employees want, invest money, and then find there's not really too much fanfare around those programs. So going from the most, I would say the least touched to the most intensive from left to right is employee surveys, focus groups, employee advisory groups, town halls, and one-on-one meetings. I want to focus on employee surveys and group focus groups because employee surveys can do one thing that focus groups cannot. You can't necessarily stratify your data when you're asking your employees. So if you're finding a lot of people might want a specific gym membership, is that in a specific cohort of your employees in a specific area of the country? So employee surveys allow you to kind of get a granular view of what the employees are asking for. And I do recommend having a third party run these surveys for you. You're going to get a little bit more honesty from the employees. You're going to then be able to use that those baselines to see if any changes that have been made affected your employee survey results. And one of the most important things, this applies to employee surveys and focus groups, do not ask questions on things that you know you're not going to change. If you know you're not going to implement a program and you're asking that question, the employees see that, they're going to expect, if the response is overwhelmingly positive, that implementation is going to happen. And if it doesn't, it is going to impact morale. And then focus groups, similar to employee surveys, you can gather data on there, but you can really drive down and get more qualitative data from those employees that are going to be involved in those focus groups. So put in the chat if you do survey your employees, how often, because you don't want to do it too often, you don't want to do it too little. We recommend usually on a quarterly basis and just doing small, quick pulse surveys that your employees can solve or can complete within 5 minutes. Okay, now getting really into the meat of this. And as I mentioned, you are not required or expected to remember all these companies that provide these benefits. I'm going to highlight a few. I do have a slide that's going to have a list of them that you'll have for reference, but your employee benefits broker should be bringing you this information. So as we go through it, think about your millennial employees, your Gen Z employees, your baby boomers, and your Gen Xers. That's who we're primarily seeing in the workforce these days. All of them have different needs, different expectations. Some of those needs might be the same. For example, financial education. Everyone needs financial education. That education is going to look very different for someone just entering the workforce compared to someone just about to leave the workforce. So there is overlap between these, however, the messaging might be different. And as we go through these cohorts, please feel free to put into the chat some of the stereotypes. These stereotypes here are, they exist for a reason. Obviously, they don't apply to everyone, but the first generation we're going to pick on is going to be Gen Z. And I wanted to pull this SHRM article because it has a wild title, The Loneliest, Least Resilient Demographic Alive. I don't know if this is what you're experiencing with your Gen Z employees. I work with both white collar and blue collar companies. And I can tell you that they have a different experience with their Gen Z employees just between the two industries. But what we've found is that about only 1/3 of Gen Z adults rate their mental health as excellent or good. That means 2/3 would say it is not excellent or good. So things to consider here are mental health, and this is a cohort that has a lot of debt. Primarily, that's going to be from college tuition. However, this is usually not an asset owning cohort, so they may be renting. They're very vulnerable to inflationary rent. And as they are trying to build their career, we need to help them navigate financially, the workplace, and how to act in a professional setting. So this article makes it seem like the fine folks over at SHRM were being pretty hard on this demographic. That being said, the article is actually very understanding and is trying to encourage our HR professionals and other colleagues to assist with these employees because they're going to be the future of the workplace. Specifically on mental health and well-being, because this is important to this demographic, there are likely underutilized programs that your company already has access to. I'm sure many of you have heard of the term EAP or Employee Assistance Program. Those are woefully underutilized for many companies. Those are free resources for your employees to reach out to in regard to mental health episodes, in regard to needing counseling or talking through something. They're usually going to be tied to your group life insurance or your group long-term or short-term disability insurance. A lot of my clients ask us to make posters so they can put it in the break room or different areas of the office. So to make sure that it is advertised, it's a free benefit, you already paying for it. It's just participation of using it is not that high. And then for a paid application, there are things like Headspace to help with mental well-being, to assist this generation as it goes through and becomes a larger piece of the workforce. Some other things that this generation values: wellness, and it's not just physical wellness anymore. It could be mental, financial, social. They are very competent when it comes to apps. So a lot of these programs you'll see will have an app feature to them. Student loan assistance. These are not made up names, but there are two programs that we use a lot. One is called Peanut Butter. The other is Gratify. They are student loan assistance programs for employers to set up for their new employees to help pay off student loans. They're also looking to make an impact. So a free way to engage this cohort is to have them on committees within the company. Give them some say in where the direction of the company is going. It doesn't have to be the core business function, but if these employees feel like they're making an impact, it is a no-cost way to have their input, and maybe you're going to get a difference of opinions and thought as they become more ingrained into your organization. And just as a shout out, this is one thing that has been my favorite benefit my company offers. It's called Well Hub. It is a fitness program that our company provides. It is essentially a discount on gym memberships. A lot of my clients have been interested in adding this for their employees. If anyone asks me what my favorite benefit for working at my company is, it is absolutely Well Hub Fitness, because I save money on my gym memberships. They have levels for everybody. So from the I'm just starting my fitness journey to some social media influencer, it has an option for them. And the employees really find it really beneficial. And this is how that SHRM article that I referenced kind of finishes. It says, we owe them the support, them being Gen Z, the support to get to them to define and fulfill their own sense of purpose. We owe them growth via challenge, hard work, and opportunity. We owe them impact. So this generation is not lazy. They're not listless, but they might be a little lost, and they're going to be counting on their employers to give them a direction, and their colleagues are going to be able to assist them with that as well. Next up, millennials. This is my generation. Lazy, entitled are words that I hear quite often. So those are more on the negative, but where millennials are really focusing on to thrive is going to really be in the, they feel like the company that they're working for has a mission. So where Gen Z wants to make an impact, millennials almost are taking a employer level approach and saying, where does my company want to be? What does my company stand for? These are employees looking for advancement, flexible PTO. They're trying to travel. They're trying to manage their social lives. So flexible PTO programs can assist here. Qualified high deductible health plans to support savings is an insurance product. One, it can help financially any employer because the costs are usually a little bit lower. But millennials are usually our bulletproof generation that don't use too much healthcare. And so a high deductible health plan can help them save through a health savings account, and they're not using their medical benefits as much. Technology-driven wellness, we talked about a few of the apps. Debt reduction, this is also going to be applicable to the millennials in the same way it was Gen Z. Variable benefit choices, having options for them to meet their needs, because you might have some millennials that are single, they don't need too much assistance with anything, however, but they also might be starting new families. And when you have a family, especially a dependent spouse, dependent child, having a flexible benefit offering is going to help. I'm going to skip fertility assistance because I'll be speaking about that in a little bit, but childcare support, this is absolutely huge for this cohort. There are two companies that we really like. One is called Tutris. Tutris is a company that sets up childcare at local kindergartens, daycares for employers that have a large employee population in certain geographic areas. The head of Mazda Manufacturing, this is a quote from him. He goes, the company calculated it would make a return on its childcare investment if it cut attrition by 1%. Since the Tutris program began, attrition has dropped 11% for men and 20% for women. So if childcare is closed or your child is sick and you have to take off work, that's going to impact your employee's ability to reduce absenteeism. So having an option for them is going to be vitally important, to have them at the office engaged and not being concerned about whether their children are in a good situation. And then the other is Bambino, where Tutris is more of a commercial situation where your kid is going to a specific school. Bambino is actually at-home childcare through a sitter network, and both these programs can be employer sponsored. Financial wellness. This is going to impact any and all of your employees. However, like I mentioned, it's going to be at different stages of their life. So you should be working and speaking with either your employee benefits broker or whoever manages your retirement program to see if they offer financial education. What we do for many of our clients is offer this as a free webinar for their employees. We do about one a quarter. We focus on different subjects, different demographics, and different ages. So keep this in mind. You should be getting these resources for free. And to illustrate the importance of it, this is from the MetLife survey that discusses the gap between what an employer is expecting their employees are at, what employees are actually saying they're at. The largest gap is in the financial health sector. Usually the executives of companies are a little bit removed from the financial situations of their entry or mid-level employees. They're putting their bias on what they expect their employees to be in a financial situation. So this gap can be taken care of and addressed for a few different ways. Education obviously is important, but looking at things like 401k and retirement matches is going to be able to address these. This one is near and dear to my heart. Myself and my partner have a French bulldog, which I am pretty sure is the most insured animal in the country. And I'm pretty sure the insurance company has lost money on this pet, but millennials count their pets similar to children. Pets have moved into a different role in the family household in the past 20 years. And it's going to continue this way. This is the number one question I get during open enrollment meetings is, are we offering pet insurance? So this does not need to be a company cost. You can offer pet insurance to your employees on a voluntary basis. The advantage of doing that is that the employees are getting a discount compared to what they would find on the individual market in a very similar way that they would be getting a discount on the health market. So I'm a big fan of FIGO pet insurance, but there's a lot of good companies out there that offer pet insurance. And then another free policy that could impact your employees is pet bereavement leave. I know this might sound silly back in the 1980s, 1990s. A lot of companies are offering pet bereavement leave when a pet passes. There'll be a link to the article, the SHRM article, when the presentation goes out here. And I held off on the fertility benefits because I had wanted to focus in on this a little bit. Um, Millennials are having difficulty having children these days. I'll give you a personal story. My company offers Kindbody, and I use Kindbody with my partner. It is to help infertility or fertility treatments. Major medical insurance does a terrible job about addressing this. And so companies like Kindbody, another one that we use a lot is called Carrot, are great programs to put in for your employees. I will say fertility benefits are not the least expensive benefit you can offer your employees, but it has an incredibly high impact. The employees that have used this have been essentially employees for life. Their company essentially helped them start a family. So Carrot and Kindbody are two that we've found that are very helpful for millennials, or really any generation that's having trouble conceive. They also help with the adoption process for the LGBTQ populations of your employees. So consider fertility and family planning vitally important to your employees. It's going to generate a lot of loyalty. Another interesting one is called Milk Stork. This is for new mothers to help store their breast milk when they're going through that phase of their post-pregnancy. Well, again, we'll have all of these companies listed for you at the end, so you'll be able to, you don't have to worry about remembering them. Okay, Gen X, rebellious, kind of self-sufficient. You tell them what they need to do and they do it. Gen X is one of the cohorts that's going to really benefit from leadership training. So you can have leadership training done in-house. I believe, Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Thread provides leadership training as well.
Yes, that is correct. It's something that we do as a part of our HR consulting side of the business. So
Yes.
we come in, help do training. Obviously, a lot of first-time managers have never had to interact with an employee in a way where what they say actually matters, like asking someone their age in an interview, or even when they graduated from high school, which implies that just learning little tips and tricks like that to be able to not put you guys at risk.
So try to partner with either internal or external resources when it comes to leadership training, because as they step into that supervisory role, they're going to need to interact with their employees in a different way than they previously had. These employees are also looking for convenient healthcare and insurance, child and elder care. We're going to speak a little bit about in a moment. Family leave. This is the cohort that is likely going to be needing to use leave more than most others. And that's primarily driven because they are taking potential care of both their young children and adult parents. So we need to be flexible with this generation as they take leave, because they are juggling essentially two generations, and it could be in that same household. Home maintenance, Gen X, for the most part, are going to be homeowners. One of the neater benefits that I've seen companies offer, again, on a voluntary basis, it does not cost the employer anything. It's called Armadillo Home Warranty. That is essentially like a health plan for your house. So one of my clients there, it was their water heater that went out. They were able to replace their water heater at no cost because they had this Armadillo Home Warranty. So there's unique benefits that you can offer this generation that's going to really be important to them. Regarding that elder care, companies like Bright Horizons help your employees find elder care assistance. Now that could be homes, that could be in-home nurses, because you have 20% of your employees are quietly taking care of their elders in this generation. Some things like long-term incentive plans and executive benefits, those are company business decisions to try to hold on to key employees. So those are essentially sticky products that you're saying, hey, we don't want you to leave. You're going to be the future of this company. We might offer executive long-term disability or executive retirement non-qualified plans. They are just essentially a retention tool to keep your key employees. Okay, let's get a little comfortable getting uncomfortable. Menstrual leave. I am probably the least qualified to talk about this, but it is an important and emerging benefit trend. It is soon to be required in Spain. It is already required in Japan and China. There is a link to a Washington Post article. More companies are offering menstrual and menopause leave for their employees. So something to consider. Again, it's not going to cost the company anything besides time. But it is a valuable benefit that we're seeing increase. I mentioned leave specifically with this cohort. This is a time where you should review your leave policies. There's a QR code in this slide that is going to have our leave management report. It is a consolidation of all things leave and benchmarks so you can know what other employers are doing. One that I found very interesting is 24% of employers are now providing paid bereavement leave for miscarriage and failed IVF attempts. So if you want to review and compare your leave policies, please do. I'm sure the fine folks over at Thread can assist you with that. Your employee benefits broker should have some good input there as well. Okay, baby boomers, our oldest generation, our most experienced generation, and our generation that is looking to exit the organization. In some situations, exiting the organization is not something we want them to do because they hold a wealth of knowledge of how the company runs, what works effectively, and just general business skills. I always recommend as a free engagement tool is to try to pair up your baby boomers with your Gen Zs. Gen Z is going to learn how to work in an office environment. Baby boomers are going to be able to maybe streamline a lot of their processes, and they don't even need to be in the same department. I have my own mentee. I am a mentee to someone else that is in a completely separate business segment. We get together once a month, kind of catch up, ask questions, and have someone else to bounce my questions off of. As you're going down this list, you'll see the online retirement planning, legal assistance, those two things that are also going to be handled by your EAP program. So if you have EAP, employee assistance, through one of your insurance lines, please engage your baby boomers to use these free programs. You can set up a will, you can get retirement advice, you can get legal assistance in setting up anything like a trust. So that it's an underutilized benefit that's available to these employees. I'm going to speak a little bit on long-term care in a moment, but as it relates to Medicare and Social Security retirement, these employees are going to soon, if not already, be entitled to Medicare. And that is a scary jump for someone that's been on a private group health insurance plan for the past 40 years. There's companies like Transitions Benefit Group. It's a local company here in Atlanta that can help move your older employees off the group health plan, answer any questions, basically handhold them through the whole process. Companies like Livongo are able to assist with chronic condition management. So they're making sure that they can get these employees the pharmaceutical drugs they need, make sure that they're checking their blood glucose levels. So you have options with a little bit more concierge service for these employees. Health insurance is always going to be important. Managing compensation as well as retirement, how you move your investment portfolio from a growth strategy to a conservative strategy to make sure you have enough money to retire with. Okay. Granternity, another free benefit that you can offer your employees. This article is from the Wall Street Journal as well. Essentially, these baby boomer generation are having grandchildren and they want to spend time with them. And if their options are spending time with them or working or not working for the company anymore, then you need to consider putting a granternity leave policy in. It doesn't need to be paid, but it gives these employees a chance to spend time with their families. It's going to give their children a chance to take a break, either by actually unwinding or going to the office themselves by having an additional set of hands here. So granternity leave, if you have not heard about it before, please consider adding this into your program because it's going to help you keep those older workers from quitting. Okay, I highlighted long-term care insurance. This is something that's been a hot topic for the past probably 5 years. A lot of the HR professionals I've spoken to, including the financial professionals, are interested in long-term care. One, from a compliance standpoint, we're seeing a few states have them required to be offered to employees. Washington really leading the charge on that. A lot of legislation is coming through different states right now. So this is going to be a compliance issue for HR. And then from a benefits perspective, long-term care is usually partnered with whole life insurance. And so the way this works is if you purchase a whole life with long-term care rider, say in the amount of $100,000, there is a percentage of that benefit that can be paid out to take care of quote unquote long-term care situations, either in home health or if someone is in an assisted nursing living facility. The long-term care will pay a percentage of that face amount. In our example, with $100,000, they would be able to withdraw like $4,000 a month to pay for long-term care. And that withdrawal of that money does not impact the life insurance itself. So if long-term care is something that you think your employees are going to really be interested in, please contact your employee benefits broker. This has been a very hot topic lately. And as we see more states implement a legislative process, you're going to see it more and more often. So here's that chart that I had mentioned. This goes over a number of the innovative benefits that we see in our space. We're constantly vetting different companies. Some of them are insurance carriers like Trustmark. Some of them are content creators like Jellyvision. I mentioned Bambino, that's the babysitting service. So all of these companies exist out there and they are only going to grow in number. It is our job as employee benefits brokers to bring these to your employees. You might say, nope, my employees are never going to go for this. We see no value whatsoever. Or actually, I just had an employee tell me they were having a lot of difficulty with fertility benefits, fertility, and it would be great to explore what options we have available to us. Okay, this is the biggest question I always get. All these benefits are great, but how do we afford them? So there's 3 ways. The first one is easy, and I'm sure a lot of your companies are already taking advantage of this, but I'm always amazed of the companies that are not. Wellness funds. Wellness funds come from the employee benefits carrier. So most of the time it's going to be your medical insurer. If you're self-insured, there's different ways to get around this, but I'm going to focus on fully insured for the sake of this conversation. The lowest wellness fund I've ever seen is $3,000, and that was for 10 employees. So the insurance carrier paid $3,000 for 10 employees. That wellness fund could be used however the employer saw fit, as long as it was tangentially related to wellness. Wellness is a very broad topic, especially when you take in mental health, physical health, financial health, and social health. Usually It is in an amount much more than $3,000. I've seen wellness funds upwards of 6 figures for clients of mine that have over 500 employees. So this is free money that your employee benefits broker should be negotiating for you every single year with the insurance company. And then the next two strategies around this are a little less easy, a little bit more nuanced. The first one is reallocating your current spend to align with any survey results. So that goes back to that scenario where I was saying you're investing money into benefit A, but none of your employees are using it. They don't see value in it. If you are surveying your employees and finding that actually they are really looking forward to having fresh produce in the break room, there's plenty of companies that do that. You can go ahead and reallocate what you're spending the money on into one of the benefits that your employees are going to that's going to really resonate with your employees. And the third, this is where it comes down to the gloves off, nitty gritty. You're just going to have to drive down your employee benefits costs as a whole to free up some money. So if you're spending $1 million on your medical insurance plan right now, if you have someone that is going to be fair but aggressive when it comes to marketing your insurances, they bring that down to $900,000. You now have $100,000, which can be reinvested in the company, could be reinvested in the employees. And that's going to just come specifically from working with a broker that is very knowledgeable about how to set up the plans for your employees and has a good relationship with the insurance carriers to get the most discounts possible. So those are the three main ways. Wellness funds always the easiest one. If you are not currently getting wellness funds, please reach out to your benefits broker and ask him or her if that can be something negotiated on your behalf for the next renewal. Okay, a little bit about total rewards. Actually, Duncan, are we okay on time for right now?
Yep, we're still doing good.
Perfect. So total rewards, you can have the creme de la creme Cadillac plan of a total rewards program. However, if your employees don't know about it or the prospective employees are not aware of it, there's going to be no way that they're going to start appreciating it. I'll give you an example of something we did for one of our clients. They're in a very industrial setting. There are other industrial companies around our client, and my client was trying to hire effectively employees. What we did for them is we built out coasters with QR codes. Our client took that to the local restaurants and they gave the coasters out to all the local restaurants. So when employees got off the job, they were able to see a coaster, company logo with a QR code, and that QR code would take them to their total rewards landing page. So they could see, oh, I had a tough day at work. This company is hiring. They offer A through Z when it comes to benefits, something that my current company is not offering. So if you can find creative ways to reach out to your current employees and prospective employees to highlight your benefit packages, it's going to go a long way, because if you are not, employees are going to develop their own opinions. They have the internet now. They have, I believe it's Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Indeed, all of these places they can get information on your company. So if you're not proactively talking about your employee benefits and total rewards packages, they will form their own opinions. So we recommend the rule of 7, reaching out 7 different times in 7 different ways. This is not something that you're just highlighting during your open enrollment. This is something that you could look at monthly. I have some clients that release a monthly newsletter, something that can be done quarterly. You can work with your employee benefits broker to design and send out this information to make sure that it's not being lost, regardless of how your employees best receive information. So here are the 7 ways that we usually see information sent out. I've worked with many companies that like to do a total rewards statement near Christmas and the holidays, and it's mailed to his or her house. What that does, it shows your compensation, the total, the medical benefit, and any other benefits that are invested into, retirement, PTO, and essentially the total rewards of what the company is investing. So if your employee thinks, okay, I'm making $50,000, there's a company across the street that will offer me 55, but they get a total reward statement that highlights all of the other investments the company makes for them. They're like, actually, technically being paid $70,000 with all this money the company is investing into me. Text messages, that's going to be probably for your more tech savvy population. Email, I'm sure everyone has access to email at this day and age. Video, there are a few companies like Brainshark and Jelly Bean that does a really good job about content creation to get your messaging out to your employees. Enrollment tools, you're seeing more and more AI as it relates to enrollment tools. So if you log into your payroll company, for example, Thread, and they're going through their open enrollment, you can embed a lot of this information in there. And a lot of times you can use artificial intelligence to help with that decision-making process. So just keep in mind, not everyone receives information the same way. Some people like electronic, some people like physical, some people like over the phone. So if you are engaging those employees where they are, it's going to go a lot further in delivering that message. To wrap everything up, again, this is the total rewards halo. It is not just compensation and benefits anymore. It is DEIB, learning and development, work environment and resources, community impact, leadership support, and well-being and engagement. So as we went through some of this, you're going to have this information readily available to you after our call. It's going to have a lot of the specific areas that we talked about. Again, there are dozens and dozens more companies out there that are offering unique benefits, but reach out to your employee benefits broker, reach out to one of your HR colleagues at different companies. I've found I'm very active at the SHRM Atlanta chapter. A lot of problems that I've seen brought up by HR professionals are solved by other HR professionals. So you have a lot of resources available to you. SHRM Atlanta Connect is a general forum where if you're asking questions, hey, I'm having this problem with this cohort or this area of the country, my employees are, always remote, never engaged. How do I engage them? Please lean on your other HR professionals. They know more than really anyone. So I encourage you to take advantage of what they're doing. Some key takeaways, workplace is going to get more and more diverse. There's no getting around that. Finding the data, executing on the data, as long as it's within budget, is going to engage that workforce because ultimately compensation, benefits, total rewards, however you want to say it, is what's going to help you effectively attract and retain employees. And in my experience, I feel like HR is usually at the low end of the totem pole when it comes to company investments. Please always try to frame everything as a business investment to your financial leaders that are going to be making these decisions. Because as HR professionals, we all know it is very expensive to replace an employee that left. It is even more expensive to replace a key employee. So a lot of these decisions are going to be based off a financial incentive for the company. So the business case is going to usually be the best case to invest more money into the total rewards package at your company. Other than that, time for questions. If you have any, please feel free to put in the chat. Duncan, let me know if there's anything. And one thing that will be included here is a benefits trend report via a QR code for any of you that would like to look further into the details.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Zach, for going through that. We did get a couple of questions in the beginning in the poll that we sent out, and I know you ended up covering this a lot throughout, but one of the big things, especially at Elizabeth and Lenore, they were asking about general cost effectiveness and benefits. And we're wondering, you talked about how you work with the broker to get a discount. I think that would probably be pretty applicable to people. What exactly does that conversation look like with the broker? How can you tell if your broker has the ability to be able to do that? And what exactly does that process look like?
So it's going to be really a two-part question depending on your company size. So if you are below 50 employees, and I'm the first to admit this, the United States has put ourselves in a very crummy situation as it relates to small group health insurance plans. So there are 4 main players. Kaiser, if you're in Atlanta, makes it 5. And if you're an international company, there's some other options. But the long short of it is finding ways to trim a medical plan, specifically talking about medical insurance, to really address the needs of your employees. If you have a wide, diverse group of employees, you're going to need to offer more than one plan design. And you're also going to I encourage everyone to use analytics, lean on your broker to say, hey, is this part of our plan being used? Yes, it is. Great. We need to keep that in there. Is this part not being used? Let's take it out and let's make this plan more cost effective. One thing we're seeing right now is one of the biggest trends in medical insurance is the explosion of semaglutides. Think Ozempic or Wegovy. I just saw an article they're putting in a $4 billion plant in North Carolina. Now companies are having to decide, do we add that into our plan or do we not add that into our plan as a coverage option? And then if you're taking the long-term view of this, overweight employees will cause claims down the road. So is it better to invest in a weight loss drug beforehand for them to manage any potential chronic conditions that may come up? So it was a long answer to your question, but essentially what you're doing is you need to aggressively market your case with all carriers available. It's going to be Blue Cross, Blue Shield, United, Cigna, and Aetna. So it needs to go to them. Each of those carriers are going to have two main products. One is called fully insured. The other is called level funded. If you are speaking with your broker, ask them about these different types of products because they're priced differently. And then for our clients that might be a little bit larger on the call, consider self-funding. I usually think the line of demarcation there about 250 employees. What self-funding is allowing employers to do is rip out all of the administrative costs that these insurance companies are charging and really bringing them in-house. So it's a little bit more risky, but that being said, the reward is much higher being self-insured rather than fully insured.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sounds like that's a lot of good information to be able to go. I know these conversations you have with your clients can be many different hours on the different types of things that you have going on. So to be able to be armed with that from a client side is definitely useful. And I know you were also talking about the way that you can communicate with your employees, the benefits that you actually offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Stacy and Kimberly asking about being competitive in recruiting. And is there a way that you can more communicate better to potential employees the type of benefits that you have in a way before to help attract better employees to apply for your open positions?
Absolutely. So that goes back to that kind of creative messaging that I had mentioned with the QR codes on the coasters. What your goal is doing is highlighting where you have made investments. And so there might be a few things that you're not aware of. Like for that EAP program, it gets brought up a lot and not much traction goes anywhere. But picking each part of the company's investments, combining that in an easily digestible format where it can be posted to your job boards and job descriptions is going to go a long way. If it looks clean and better than just a Word document, that's going to help as well. So lean on your employee broker, your employee benefits brokers, marketing teams to help you create that document. Make sure it is in electronic and physical copies, so that can be sent out both ways. I can't tell you how many clients I've run into where they basically say, we offer medical insurance and retirement. Like they offer more. I know they offer more. So we urge them to highlight the investments that they're making so it can be posted pretty easily in both an electronic or a physical copy.
Gotcha. Awesome. And there was one last question, unless anyone else wants to put any into the chat. I did see Nest asked a question about good software or app or program to do employee surveys. Elizabeth, that is a great answer. Always check with your broker. Honestly, if you ever have any kind of question when it comes to HR related services, asking a broker is usually a great first step. I can take part of that here. Also, if on the second part, if you work with an HCM provider, many of us also have different engagement tools and surveying tools that you can use within your payroll system. But outside of that, I know people use stuff like SurveyMonkey, and I know, Zach, you probably have a couple other that you've heard of as well.
Yep. No, SurveyMonkey is a great option because it's very low cost. And I mean, it gets the job done at the end of the day. It's very low cost, gets the job done. There are some more expensive softwares, and I actually believe that was when the recent SHRM Atlanta forum, someone was asking for good survey companies. So I'd encourage anyone to go to the SHRM Atlanta. There were, I think, a good number of entries and responses there. But if you're trying to run it in-house, look at something like SurveyMonkey if you don't want to make a big investment. Lean on your people like Duncan and Thread that are going to be able to offer to run that for you. Or your employee benefits broker as that disinterested third party, so the employees are a little bit more transparent with their answers.
All right, well, unless anyone else has any questions, I'll see if any more pop in the chat here in the next 10 to 15 seconds, but I think that will probably be it for today. I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to Zach and I go through the different things that are going on in benefits. I know it is a very hot topic and very important to the entire HR world right now. It seems to be that this is a conversation that I was not having as someone who's not terribly involved in benefits. I'm having to be more and more aware of every single day because, as Zach's saying, there also are more benefits that you can offer to your employees every day to help retain the best talent that you have. So again, I just want to say thank you all so much for hopping on. If you want, you can put down in the chat. I know Zach and I were saying this before. If you are really, really interested in getting into the nuance of what goes on and how to build a benefits plan, we will gladly set up another webinar for something like that. And if you want to just have that as an hour on your webinar and the dribble of the minutia of benefits might put you to sleep, you can just have it on your calendar and take an afternoon nap on a Wednesday in the future. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, feel free to let us know. But again, thank you guys so much today, and hope to see you all again soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone inviting me on, and Duncan, thank you so much. HR wears so many hats in the organization, gets so much asked of them. So we do appreciate you, and hopefully there were at least 1 or 2 new benefits that you can take away with today.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.